In breaking news, the Prime Minister in an interview to Financial Times has said that India-US ties are mature and stable, and importantly has said that we're living in an era of multilateralism. Now that's a key point. Our senior colleague Vishnu Shom is now joining us live on the phone line. So Vishnu, what are the key points here in this interview? Of course, the fact that India looking at a new international order, and the Prime Minister saying that one or two incidents cannot affect the relations between India and the US.
In this interview, the Prime Minister has said that India is looking into any evidence as far as the allegations are concerned with regard to the plot or the alleged plot of eliminating the Khalistani terrorist Pannun. Now, essentially what the Prime Minister has said is very much along the lines of the Government of India's position, where responding to allegations made by the US Justice Department, India has said that there is no policy of ours which encourages any plot to try and eliminate anybody on foreign soil. In his interview to the Financial Times, the Prime Minister said, and I quote, "If someone gives us any information, we would definitely look into it." He also says, "If a citizen of ours has done anything good or bad, we're ready to look into it. Our commitment is to the rule of law." I think the key point, without being mentioned by the Prime Minister over here, was that a couple of incidents do not in any way deflect or impact the relationship between India and the US, which, as you know, is a very close strategic relationship. At the same time, the Prime Minister did sound India's concern on the Khalistani elements which exist in the West by saying, and I quote, "These elements, under the guise of freedom of expression, have engaged in intimidation and have incited violence." He did add, "Security and counter-terrorism cooperation have been a key component of our partnership. And finally, I don't think it is appropriate to link a few incidents with diplomatic relations between the two countries." So these are quotes which he has offered the Financial Times, which I'm reading out over now. But important, the Prime Minister responding to the allegations of an assassination attempt being made by Indian authorities on a Khalistani terrorist in the United States.
Right, Vishnu, and the Prime Minister in a sense also reiterating what has been India's stand for a while, that terror and talks cannot go together, and the India has an absolutely zero tolerance policy when it comes to any extremism in all its forms.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
The Prime Minister, Vishnu, in a sense reiterating that terror and talks cannot go together. India absolutely has a zero tolerance policy when it comes to extremism in all its forms.
Absolutely. And let me read out that key element of what he says. He said that India was, and I quote, "deeply concerned about the activities of certain extremist groups based overseas, and that these elements, under the guise of freedom of expression, have engaged in intimidation and incited violence." So, making it absolutely clear that, look, we have our concerns, security concerns on the activities of Khalistanis overseas. And that's something that he makes quite clearly in this interview to the Financial Times.
Right, Vishnu, thanks very much for joining us with that update.